My name is Keene Imbleau, and I'm a media composer, sound designer, and in general, I work with audio. So what I'm going to be talking about today is, for this film, What Arjun Forgot, was for the Ottawa Indian Film Festival Awards. And that was for a 72-hour film challenge. Now, anyone who has done anything in 72 hours ever will realize 72 hours just isn't enough. So what I'm going to be talking about in this video are the sort of restraints that I was under and how I had to either think creatively or efficiently to help tell a story through the music. So let's just jump into it.
So before we get started, I'd just like to say I'm not a professional. This is something that I do out of passion with my own free time, and I spend all the hours researching it on my own time, either through tutorials, skill sharing websites, YouTube, or friends and family who have done similar things. I wanted the viewer to have some form of, I guess, unfamiliarity with it. At the same time, they can sort of get comfortable in the sound of it, right? So the beat itself is within 7/4. So I'm taking 4/4 drums, I'm taking 4/4 piano, but then I'm taking the drums and I'm shifting them just one beat back. And so what we have is this unfamiliar feeling, right? I also like to think of it as sort of a play on words. So in What Arjun Forgot, it is about him forgetting, right? So I'd like to think that right at the beginning here, we are forgetting a beat. Something's wrong. We're off track. There's a beat missing already. And so I think that parallels somewhat with Arjun himself. What we're about to go into is this very, very beautiful scene between a father and a son. Now, this father is hearing impaired, and he can only communicate through ASL, American Sign Language. This was a really cool opportunity because we associate so much of what we know about music with our voices. However, this man does not use his voice, and neither does his son when communicating with his father. When it came to finding a specific instrument to represent the relationship between the father and the son, I almost didn't pick the flute. I only just sort of happened by it. I started messing around with it, and I realized this is exactly the language in which the father and the son speak. It is simple movement in the air. Although it is visual, it is very much a texture and a feel thing when you are speaking with your hands to someone else. I mean, the only audio we're really hearing in the movie is Arjun occasionally going, yes, yes, no, all those sort of things, right? That's just for him. He's not saying it for his father. He's saying that so that the audience can sort of understand what's happening. So when it came to picking this flute, it just made the most sense, especially when they split off and countered each other right around here. Also, I do love playing with space in very small scale situations, especially in film. I love to be able to use reverb in such a way that it creates such a grand scale for such a small situation, which is exactly what I did on this percussion at the bottom here. So that's why I picked the flute. So when it came to the first scene, I put a lot of effort in. I was really methodical, and I was like, which choir should I pick, and which should I do a bass sound? Which kind of bass sound should I do? Of course I should do a bass sound, but which one? And it had already been about 3 hours at that point. The next scene has 3 tracks. The scene after has 2 tracks, well, really 1.5. And then the last scene has a single track. One thing I learned, which was very valuable during this whole experience, was you really, really have to hone in on an idea, and you have to hone in on a particular tone and sound. I always thought of Arjun as this very dramatic character, and Liz is also very dramatic. And when it comes to dramatic people and dramatic things, we tend to think of soap operas. This chord right here, I think, is so emblematic of what a soap opera is about. That chord right there is absolutely fantastic and is one of my favorite parts about this whole film. It's a bit cheesy, and you have to have a bit of cheese when you're making something like this. You can't refine every note to be its own thing. You need to have something that can feel familiar for the audience, especially if you're requesting that they should watch your film that you made over a weekend. You have to be convincing, and part of that is by playing to some sort of familiar idea that they understand, such as when it comes to this final scene here, and I won't talk about it too much, but there are a few things I'd love to point out. One, you kind of have to see what's happening on screen. So first off, when you're recording music for the screen, you kind of have to see what's on it. What I see when I'm on the film are two people talking to each other. I started the piano part just at the right time. I started it just as Liz was realizing what she was going to talk to Arjun about. Okay, I'm going to bring up these dishes, and it's going to tie into the fact that he forgot our anniversary yesterday. I'd like to think that this piano started just as the thought came in her mind, and this piano would go for almost the rest of the film. This is a film about two people who love each other and are just trying to figure it out like the rest of us. Right towards the end of the track here, when Liz tells Arjun to just listen, this is just owning in on that idea even more. We're now even stopping the piano just to tell everyone, you just listen. This isn't a bad thing. However, we're clearly just going to need to cut the music just to get you to understand what's happening. This isn't about, oh, the drama of it all. This is about someone who just needs to be heard because they're concerned. If you speak ASL, you'll have understood this was coming from the start. The father, at the beginning, asks Arjun, so are you going to ask her hand in marriage? So using the imagery of the candles, they sort of look like stars, and so it, to me, sort of represented that. It represented a twinkle. It represented the twinkle in every little girl's eye who dreams of one day being married. It represents that twinkle in the heart of a man who can give himself up to someone. It all matters. So, what I'm surmising from this whole experience with what Arjun forgot is you need to be efficient. You need to hone in on an idea. It doesn't hurt to start off heavy from the start just to capture everyone's attention. Once you have that attention, you need to do something with it. Pick an instrument to represent a character, a feeling, an emotion, or just something on screen. Create an unfamiliar feeling when you want to capture someone's attention, but ultimately you want to give them something to work with as well, some familiar idea that they can understand. And play to what's on screen. I think that's probably one of the more important things is you're composing for story. You're not composing for music's sake. You're composing to support the narrative. Whether you do that with a loop, whether you do that with full orchestras, anything like that, you're just going to want to hone in on the story. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, hope you learned something, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you very much.